We're live. Look at that. I don't know where the Rhino panel is though. Okay. Sorry, I'm all over the place. I've just been running around and trying to get stuff done, ready for the show. So this is another episode of Loose Canon. Today we are talking about the last days of Kraken Mare. Is that how it would be pronounced? Like, because it looks like it says Kraken.
Sure.
Kraken or Kraken?
Yeah,
Kraken
because
Mare.
like, is it Kraken because it's on Titan? It's like alien. It's weird,
Oh
or is
my
it Kraken
goodness.
because that's a word?
I think it's butt cracking.
All right.
I say
So
Kraken just to be weird.
yeah, right. Like it's alien. You gotta be alien.
Kraken.
The last days of Kraken Mare. Ooh, yeah. That is one of the new lore books that can be obtained by completing Vex offensive bounties. Because what doesn't say Titan like Vex offensive bounties? Uh, and it takes place specifically in the Golden Age. So this is one of Guardian's favorite books. He said, "Do you want to start us off with some thoughts?"
I feel like nothing really starts out interesting in the beginning, but it's to me it's my favorite book just because of like I'm gonna say I just get super nerdy over things like this
Mm-hmm.
because it goes into detail about the arcology and how stuff was working in the Golden Age.
Yeah.
And then it gets really interesting towards the end with what happens. But I just started loving the book because of the detail it gives of the Golden Age and how things were working and how the arcology system works. And that's why it's my favorite.
Mm-hmm.
Plus what happens later, which I don't want to say anything about, but it's still like I love knowing more about characters and like the people that lived during that time.
Yeah.
Like David. Like it was really cool like seeing that interaction with like where David comes in and like seeing an EXO come in and have
Mm-hmm.
more of like a personal touch with it,
Yeah.
which Kraken Mare did really well.
The EXO really like made me go like, "What?" when she came in. But I mean, I guess we should start at the beginning, right? Because it's on Titan. It's on the plate. It would be on the place that we go, right? It's like one of those, or do you think it's a
So
completely different one?
I'm pretty sure it's the same one.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think off to the side you can see the arcology. Because in the book it talks about one of them like being sideways, and I'm
Mm-hmm.
pretty sure in the game you see one that is like sideways.
Okay.
So I think we are like that is the arcology that we're on is the one it's talking about.
Because it did mention that there was multiple of those, so it could just be another one on Titan that we don't get to go to for the reasons that kind of get specified in the book. But yeah, so it takes place on Titan in arcology. The reason that they're studying Titan. It's got methane oceans, and apparently, Rhino, you know a little bit more about this. Like, what's up with the actual? Because this is like a real world lore thing that they threw in this book, and I was like astounded by it. I was like, I did not know that, and that is amazing to me.
Which part?
The how the ocean is, it's because it's methane ocean, it's like liquid
Oh yeah,
methane,
yeah,
and then there's
yeah.
like ice.
Yeah. So moon in real life moon of Titan. The ocean is basically all comprised of methane,
Hmm.
and then below that you have this slurry. Yeah.
You're kind of roboting out, man.
Turn that off. Yeah, so like this slurry and Titan's core never really. So
I can't
if
hear
you
you
can
at
kind of
all.
think of
Is it just me?
Nah, he's gotten in and out for me.
Yeah, it's really rough.
okay, hang on. This is strange. Sorry about that. Technical difficulties.
Well, see, now you're clear when you're when you're talking about how it's technical difficulties. Perfectly
Yeah,
fine.
I think there's an internet issue right here.
Okay,
Okay,
yeah, we're getting it good now. So
okay,
can
cool. Oh
restart
yeah,
though.
so okay, where was I? All right. So basically, Titan is this. Uh, um, if you imagine a Slurpee, I don't know if you'll have those there.
Yeah, we have
Uh,
Slurpees, slushies,
bas-
Slurpee, all that.
basically, a frozen snow that never really solidified in um, It's just basically it's not really solid.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, it's an ocean of methane on top of a slurry of ice,
Uh-huh.
and then it goes all the way to fries, rocks, and more ice. Solids. One of the cool things about the moon is mountains, because if they had, they would have just sunk.
Okay. So you're roboting out, but so to reiterate then, um yeah, the Vex invasion messed with his mic. To reiterate what Rhino said, it's an ocean of methane, and then beneath that, it's got its core, and it's basically like loose slush ice, like not really solid, just kind of swampish almost, I guess, like really like loose mud, but it's ice instead of soil.
Yeah,
And
rock. I mean, it's
yeah,
solid. Massive ocean of methane that's floating on top of a slurry of ice.
mm-hmm. And so then beneath that, in this lore book, they talk about how beneath this kind of core, there's a second ocean of, was it ammonia?
Yeah, so one of the byproducts of all the chemical reactions on Titan is ammonia.
Mm-hmm.
And of course more methane, lots and lots of it. But there are these air pockets that happen with underneath the ocean surface. So that's one of the cool things about Titan.
I jinxed it.
The way to get on Titan, you could kind of survive in one of those pockets, or build something in one of those pockets, or some sort of a ship or whatever.
Mm-hmm. So let me ask you then, if Titan doesn't actually have a structure that could hold mountains, like you said, they would sink. How the hell do they have these giant metal platforms?
Well, so what happens is, because you have this ocean of methane, and a standard ocean or any other ocean on another planet or whatever, it's not very deep, but it's deep enough that you could float a ship on it or something like that. So in theory, if you were to craft a massive floating barge or ship or whatever, it would just have to be able to sustain the harsh environment of methane.
Did you also mention that the arcology, like the on Titan, that from their point of view, because I don't know what all has changed with the Traveler terraforming things.
Well, yeah, the Traveler never actually got to Titan, right?
Yeah, but I don't know if like it did anything else but they did mention that gravity is a lot lighter and the air is a lot denser. So they literally have a moment where at the end of the book, someone like has a wingsuit and can just start flying.
Oh yeah, I remember
because
that
of
now.
gravity is so light and the air is so dense that just having like wings, they can like fly up.
It's like all those like old people who are like, how do we fly? Well, birds flap wings. Let's flap wings, and they jump off a cliff and die. But on Titan, they would fly. That's amazing.
It works, yeah.
Yeah.
So I feel like I remember in the book them talking about it being solid, like the arcology being connected to something underwater.
Mm-hmm. Do you think it just goes straight through? Maybe like there's a separate arcology on the opposite end. It's just a straight beam through Titan connecting two platforms, and they're just hanging out. That'd be cool. That'd be one way to do this. I am a science man, so I know all about it.
All about the science.
Yeah, I'm all about that science. So
no, that's pretty interesting. I mean, it's about flying. They're bone. I don't know.
Is there any way that you can like reset your router, maybe, because you're really roboting out? If you think it's a connection issue.
And then so there was one thing I wanted to say. So I think this one shows that there is a single arcology rigs. There are almost 3 million people on this arcology and its rigs, and it doesn't mention of another arcology.
Well, no, it
There's
totally
just
did.
like a group of rigs.
It totally mentioned a second arcology.
The rig, I don't remember it mentioning another arcology itself.
All right, I'll take your word for it.
Though.
But so to actually get into this book, it starts out with I'm also positive that Rhino was saying something interesting. It just sucks that we can't hear him when he is. Hopefully he'll be right back. He just stepped away for anyone listening on audio to reset his router, because he has
talking
has a
about
lot to
how
offer.
the air density. Yeah.
Yeah.
He was saying how like the air density, it being so dense and gravity being light, it's essentially like you can, like, if you had wings, you could move yourself up. Even just with hands, you move yourself up. It's very similar to that.
You think you could do it
Not
even
as
without
easy.
wings? That'd be crazy. See, now you're cutting out.
Your
Maybe
hands,
it's
you
me.
can move up. The Rhino was cutting out for me too. It's essentially, if the air is dense enough and the gravity is light enough, you essentially just have to have enough to grab onto that air and push yourself up.
Yeah. But so this book starts out right in it. So it's on Titan. If you actually play on Titan, I think inside the arcology you can sometimes get the audio cue that says how the traveler just left Io. We assume that this is nothing out of the ordinary. Like, even though it's never just randomly left a place that it was terraforming before, they're like, no, this is perfectly fine. Don't worry. But so the book starts out with Mia Vander Veen, who is, I think, the commander of the whole Titan operations, and she's saying
Actually, the admin of
the
the
admin
arcology.
administrator. Yeah. It's real, Mia Vander Veen decides. We evacuate citizens first, then the old guard, and we assume we're not coming back. So, this is in the collapse. The collapse is just about to happen, and the people on Titan are like, we need to go. We need to get out of here. The traveler just left, and it went back to Earth, and they're like, we need to go wherever the traveler is. That's going to be the safest spot, which is technically true, yeah.
So this is the system, the arcology system has complex AI generators. They're the ones that talk to Mia and notified her, hey, something's happening. We need to evacuate, and this is what we need to do. The other stuff until later. Arcology itself knows something, there's sensors that are happening, and the sensors don't really know what's happening, but it knows that they need to evacuate the people.
Yeah.
And the alarms go off, or anyone knows what's going on, and it's just Mia going, we need to evacuate because something's happening.
There he is.
Is this better?
So far?
Okay.
Much
Let's hope
better.
the Vex don't invade my network out here in the country again.
Yeah, now Guardian's got it. So they're like, yeah, we'll get this guy.
Oh
all we talked about was just the first card and how it's basically taking place at the beginning of the collapse. And so for people who don't because when you think about Titan, you're just like, yeah, it's Titan, it's somewhere, right? It's a moon of Saturn. So it is the furthest part in the galaxy that we go to, on a regular basis. Not including anything that the 9 have us do, because I don't know what the hell that really has to do with anything. But
yeah, that's a little out there.
Yeah. Who knows how... That could be, literally right outside of, Earth. And it's just, there's that black hole. It's not actually sucking anything in. Now we're in unknown space, but...
Some pocket universe in the middle of our face, I guess.
Yeah. But so, when the darkness is coming in, it's coming in from outside the system. Titan would have been one of the first places effectively hit by the darkness. And they also had sensors that were out probing deeper space, outer space, and that's an issue because you have these high intelligent communities like Clovis Bray who are we control everything. If we don't want people to know about it, they're not going to know about it. And here's Titan getting information about something that they don't want people to know about.
Right. So here's something that happens in real science. I'm sorry, I'll keep this brief. I'll
Hmm.
try hard
Oh no,
not to go
absolutely.
on tangents like
This is
this.
what we wanted to hear before.
Okay, so for instance, right now, um, we have a probe that's approaching the heliopause or the actual rings of the heliopause, and it's just now starting to approach um, that unknown area. The last known transmission we got, because everything on board its satellite system has failed at this point because it's been out there so long, it's traveling towards the heliopause.
Hmm.
The only thing it's able to do is send back basically beeps and clicks at this point. Um, but what we've discovered in the last 2 years is as it gets closer to the heliopause, the wave transmission radio waves that normally would come in a straight line or let's just say it was a straight line, they're starting to ripple, and we're
Hmm.
starting to realize that the distance in between the waveforms that are coming to us in the transmission is being interrupted by some unknown gravitational anomaly that we aren't able to comprehend fully. So what we're starting to realize is the further away we go from our solar system, the less our solar system's gravitational pull has an effect on all the things that happen, like light or sound, all of these things, gravity. And we're
Hmm.
starting to realize that once you approach the heliopause and you pass our barrier, if you will, everything reacts different. So it's really interesting for scientists at this point because we're starting to understand a little bit more of how gravity works once you get outside of a solar system or
Hmm.
any area. Um, so it's just kind of neat that they bring up these topical things that are relevant in science right now too,
Yeah.
as far as like what we learned about the Titan and the moon and how it's made and what it's made of, methane and oceans of all that ice and stuff like that. But so I mean, bravo to Bungie for having an awesome, investigative science team.
Yeah. Didn't they
But
always used to do that like with D1 too. Like remember Mars what's his name? Craig something from
yeah,
the Guardian
Hardgrove.
Guardian Craig Hardgrove from the Guardian Radio podcast. He like works at NASA and stuff. He was super into like the geology of other planets, and when they were talking
Yeah,
about
yeah.
Mars, he's like, "Oh no, this is all like accurate. This is what it looks like on Mars. This is what it would. These are the formations you should expect to see." And
Yeah.
they do a really good job getting stuff right because they
There's
want it to be sci-fi and fantasy. But sorry, you were saying? Oh, yeah, you're roboting again.
oh my goodness.
You were good for that whole period.
All right, someone else talk for now.
But
The
so
Vex are
the
back.
the card goes on, and actually in the card it talks about how the alert scrolls through Mia's mind in a hallucinatory screen space that matches but never impairs normal vision. Traveler departs Io, terraforming incomplete, accelerating toward Earth, behavior unprecedented. So Mia being the administrator of the whole Titan operation, she's probably getting like little inside information that other like civilians that are just there are not getting. And it is that type of thing where it's like something strange is happening. Should we leave? Like should we just go back to Earth? And yeah. Guardian.
So I want to bring up just get like hooked onto the personal stuff of these cards
Mm-hmm.
and kind of like the psychological aspects.
Mm-hmm.
Things is the introduction of a character, like ethicist.
Oh, so you kind of cut out there. Coruscant?
This that shows up on the arcology.
My God, it's everyone.
I don't know what's going on. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Or is it like actually like cutting me in and out?
Yeah.
I think it's Discord.
Yeah, maybe it is Discord. Um, we're gonna restart this call. Uh, we're just gonna we'll it'll be 1 second. So let's everyone leave the call. Look, there's Baxter. Hi, Baxter.
Good moment.
He's there. He's here today. He made it. Hopefully that
better.
fixes everything. So you were saying the ethicist Korosek?
Yeah.
Cognac?
So David Korosek. Cognac? No. So this, because I love this type of stuff, and this to me really points something out about the Golden Age that we never got to see. And it was how their morality was dictated and how they dealt with life in general and expanding. And this little snippet kind of shows a lot about that. And so like this one, it starts out with Mia like telling everyone that we need to evacuate, and everyone kind of questioning her and saying, why are you wanting to evacuate? Like, there's a lot of problems with this. And then David Korosek is introduced as an ethicist, and he agrees with Mia and his whole thing. And I was trying to think. So this voice Mia didn't expect, but only because he's the new guest at her table. David Miguel Korosek, a man whose lily never harmed a fly, who won't eat plants lest he destroy a sacred entropy pump. Poor David, he came here to make first contact with new life, the wonders that flourish not in Mia's oceans, the methane sea of Titan's surface, but in the enormous water world that lies below. And it's like he is an ethicist, he wanted to help them do it right. So it's someone who, and it talks about how this evacuation will be the death of many.
Yeah.
Because you're moving 3 million people off an arcology, something's going to happen. And to have him come in before we get the like actual official alert as an ethicist who literally his whole goal is to do everything right by morality standards, saying that this needs to happen is a really interesting like comment to me, especially because I think he doesn't know what's going on. At least it doesn't present that he does. But then he asks Mia what's happening, and she talked about the AIs who issue the evacuation order use a hammer-forged extrapolation of human morality. It is tested in trillions of simulations under the wildest circumstances imaginable to be sure their moral decisions agree with human values. They're not just rationality pumps that they care. And that, like, to me is just something I love seeing, because it shows that the Golden Age wasn't just like an advance in technology. Because I feel like we've only had Clovis Bray up until this point really shown off.
Yeah.
And Clovis Bray is kind of an evil company.
And it's
like,
still Clovis
most of the
Bray.
stuff is pretty shady. Yeah.
Like
sure.
even
So
all this is like Clovis Bray organized and Clovis Bray orchestrated and Clovis Bray big brothered. You know, they're still all over this stuff that's happening, and it's like, God.
Yeah,
really
it's like they're
own
the
it.
hidden company, but that's all we've ever gotten is Clovis Bray. So we've only seen the Golden Age kind of in a shady light. And now I feel like for the first time, we're getting to see the Golden Age in, like, see that they really put a ton of effort and care into doing the right thing, and being moral and having everything set up for that. Versus Clovis Bray, which is like, we want to take this, so we're gonna murder you and your children and take all of your stuff.
Yeah.
I got the.
And it's just such a nice, like, different view.
Rhino?
I got the feeling. I got the feeling at one point that the ethicist was there kind of as a like a token at one point, because when they're having their discussion, I almost felt like he was just supplanted there. They could say, yeah, look, we're working within the ethics. we have this guy who can keep us centered around doing the right.
Though I don't think David is connected to Clovis.
No, he was there like he's like an what's it called, like freelance?
Philanthropist.
Yeah, you have to have an ethicist to be an outside entity, so that way they're not affected.
Kind of like HR.
Or all that stuff. Yeah,
man, this has to be Discord, because it's never been this bad.
Yeah, I think it is.
Like every now and then I've had like little issues, but this has been.
This is just repeat. But so let's continue because this is like really where it starts to pick up. David's an ethicist, and he's saying, we need to evacuate. And like we talked about, the Titan people have information that Clovis Bray, big brothering the whole situation, doesn't want people to know about. And so they are further introducing a woman known as Crown 6. So that's like her agent name, right? Like 007, because she is an
Yeah.
EXO, but she's not Crown 6 like Cade 6. Because
Yeah, it's a code name.
In a later card, they reveal her name as something 2, I think it was. I forget. Morgan 2? Yeah. Morgan's EXO could reach them. Yeah, because then they start calling her Morgan because it's getting a little more personal. And then, but Morgan 2 had just covered her glowing eyes. Administrator, didn't you understand that this was a humane option? Didn't you think? Blah, blah. So, she's an EXO with a normal name as well. Her name is Morgan. And the importance of her coming in is that she's like there on business, trying to get the information that the arcology has found. And David's like, I want to be there when Crown 6 shows up. And Mia's like, why? And he's like, because I knew her before she was an EXO. And up to this point, we've been like fed repeatedly that all EXOs had their minds wiped multiple times. There was no other way to do it successfully. And
I thought that wasn't true. I thought we had, I mean, I don't know if successfully, but I thought we had actual documents of them trying to do the humanizing effect.
Well,
and it wasn't working.
Well, that's what I mean. That's what they say. They say, like, we try to just put your brain into the robot and then everything be fine, but that doesn't work. So we have to wipe your memory, and sometimes multiple times. That's why they would have people with like larger numbers. And then we get Morgan 2, who David knew before she was an EXO, and here she comes, and where is this line? To practice her. I wish I had it right in front of me. She's an EXO now, a troubleshooter for Soul Second. That's like a big word. I think it's multiple parts. I think it's supposed to be Soul Sector Enterprise or something like that. Something along those lines. Because they also call them Soul Sec, and it just sounds like Soul Sector. But when David sees her again, yeah, here it is. Hi, Morgan, David Korosek says, with a softness Mia has never heard before, a softness not meant for her ears. Are you happier? It is as if he has waited a long, long time to ask that. And when I was first reading this, I was expecting Morgan to be like, who are you? Like, because she's not supposed to have her memories. And Crown 6 looks up in a very human surprise. David, she says guardedly, tell me you're not still an ethicist? Sorry, Morgan, still me. So she has her memories, but she's an EXO.
Clovis? This is before the collapse, and the only EXOs that we have experienced with have been after the collapse.
Technically, but before the collapse, if you go to Clovis Bray, if you go to the Mars Clovis Bray EXO Labs, you can find those little computer terminals, and they'll tell you every EXO gets their mind wiped because of DER, dissociative EXO rejection. And so they had to wipe the mind so that the mind can fit into an EXO without going crazy. And then at the same time, EXOs are being used as grunt work guards, as just like throw them into war type things. But when you have Morgan 2, who is a much higher up, a volunteer human who's like, I'm in this war, and I'm gonna volunteer to become an EXO, she keeps her memories. She keeps.
So do you think something nefarious was happening? And maybe
yes,
that whole line we got fed for years about how it was only DER, but maybe there was a secret that kept people from. Yeah, that's
absolutely
creepy. Well, and then it makes me think about how Cade 6 was forced into his whole position of becoming an EXO by way of repaying his debt. Did he? This makes me spin off. Did he somehow go off on certain missions or certain things that he was relearning about his past, and that's why he's kept all these little pockets of information over the years before he ultimately died, as a way to try to regain his mind, because he knew or was onto something about that. Maybe he knew that, hey, I can get my memories back somehow, but because all this crap that they're telling me about how DER makes us wipe our minds, maybe that's not real.
Well, I think once your memory is gone, it's gone. Like, you can learn your past, but once it's gone, it's effectively gone.
It's gone.
Just that in the case of Morgan, it was never
She
gone.
didn't listen. Well, okay, so what does that imply, though? That's what I'm saying.
That implies that Clovis Bray saw an opportunity to get people who owed him money into the EXO program so that he could wipe their memory and say, you're my slave, and there's nothing you can do about it, and that's your life. And they're just going to be like, oh yeah, I guess that's my life.
Yeah, I mean, and with Morgan, she would just present something that's worth keeping.
Yeah.
Where her brain and her knowledge were like, okay, we can keep you and have you be, like...
Yeah, it was tactical for her to become an EXO, because she was a commander in, like, war efforts. And it's like, oh, so not only are you the brain, but now you're also the EXO brawn. Whereas everyone else, they're just grunts. They're there to do work, to get destroyed, to get repaired. The end.
Well, this opens up a whole new door.
I know. Clovis is shady, and when I read this, I was freaking out. I was like, this, like, there's more and more evidence that he's shady.
And one interesting thing, so two things I want to bring up before we move further. One is that I don't think Clovis Bray owns the Arcology. I think the Arcology is its own separate unit, and Clovis Bray came in after the fact.
One quick thing though. Well, yeah, he doesn't own the Arcology, but he's like big brothering it. He knew that they had information that he didn't want
Clovis
getting
Bray
out.
is just like that. It's like he is a very powerful person.
Yeah.
Who knows everything that's going on. He doesn't own like everything, but he knows what's going on, and he's legit like the what is it? The Illuminati. Like, he is the Golden Age Illuminati. Like, he is in everything and like slightly controls everything from the shadow. But yeah.
Dancing Fury just pointed out, which is true, those terminals where we get our information on how Clovis Bray works, those were the tourist terminals. Those were the people who were like, oh, I wonder how EXOs work. And this is what Clovis is telling them. He could tell them. We have people that still have their memories. He's not saying that, though. He's saying all EXO get their memories erased. Why?
He's got to keep that. He's got to keep up that lie. Yeah.
Things, people, cuz.
That's true.
DER.
Yeah.
So the other thing,
this is nuts.
So I don't know how involved Clovis Bray is with this specifically, outside of her being EXO, because when they're talking about the evacuation, it is a civilian evacuation. When like ships are leaving with troops, and then it talks about military from the American Empire flying in and doing their crazy stupid stunts, being Americans, like oh, we're awesome, and like flying in at like miles per hour and then stopping right above the Arcology.
Yeah.
So Crown 6 isn't from, like, in quotation, isn't from Clovis Bray. It's mentioned that she is from the American Empire military,
which is a Clovis Bray thing.
Right.
Is it like, has it been officially tied to Clovis Bray?
Well, for multiple reasons within this as well, but in the collector's edition, when they were talking about the K1 in the journal there, the commanders, Kwang Zhang, she talks about how Clovis Bray is like the evolution of ancient capitalism without regulations, and how they just have like a stranglehold on America.
Wow.
Like, they don't say about how
they don't say it in so many words.
They wish it was like America. Like, I thought they were saying that the American Empire was like doing capitalism correctly, and Clovis Bray was kind of like the dark side of.
Well, I mean,
what came from that?
Maybe
that's kind of how I took it. I'm gonna have to reread it.
Yeah,
but I took it as American Empire and Clovis were separate, and the American Empire became like a proper capitalist civilization, and then Clovis Bray kind of became like the evil side of that.
Rhino? Oh, is he cutting out again?
I think so.
Rhino, are you talking?
Yeah, I'm talking now. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. I just wanted to bring up...
Get a camera.
Oh, my goodness. I just want to bring up one thing that happened on Twitter where Seth pointed out that the that Earth in the future
Mhm.
is very much a combined effort in space exploration between all the different countries.
Mhm.
So when we talk about the Americans, the Chinese, and just any space exploration program that uh, was brought up in the lore, Seth wanted to point out that he wanted to show that in the future we have a combined space exploration
Mhm.
force of some sort, so that we are all working together towards these scientific research development, space exploration development. And then Clovis Bray is very much another entity that has their hands and fingers in on everything. And the reason why they're so deeply rooted in the American Space Force, which is a part of the combined effort, is because of that deep rooted, old capitalistic world thing. And, they've very much tried to separate that, but it's still there. That whole thing is still there. So that's just what he kind of
Yeah.
wanted to bring up, so that
And then
when
I
people are
wonder,
thinking about the future, they can kind of say, well, it wasn't very much the old, 60s space race where everybody was divided in their own efforts. We're all combined in one effort.
and that's where like I wonder if like based off of that, like what if the American Empire is the military? Because what's the point of having multiple militaries if everyone's at peace?
Mm.
So like what if
Could be.
The American Empire is talked about with the military because they focus on military, where like then the Chinese Empire would be then like the actual like space exploration and stuff. So it's not that they're separate, but like each group kind of is like they're all together, but they all have their own like individual like spots that they
Yeah, like
are like
maybe
specifically crafted in.
one area is like very technological and one area is like very agricultural and one area they like just like they mine coal. That's like all they do.
Like, what are
Yeah,
you
so
good
it
at?
makes sense for
This
like
is
the
your
American
job.
Empire to just be military.
But so to like I said, there is multiple points in the book. Morgan points a bladed hand at her. The symbolic suggestion of violence alone is shocking enough to cut Mia's sentence short. Administrator Vanderveen, there is a Carhay White emergency in effect as an AI-com operative. Morgan being an AI-com operative, Rasputin, Clovis, like
Yep.
you can follow it
Carhay.
back. She's an operative of Clovis Bray.
Yep.
I have the right to use force where and how I see fit. So if you don't get me where I need to go and help me recover any obstacles to my goal, I will realign you with my mission parameters. Basically saying, like, I will kill you if I have to. And so further, this whole thing is like happening, trying to get what was the scientist's name? I can't Shannis
Chanel
Pell.
Pell. Yeah, Shannis Pell.
Yeah. So Shannis Pell found something, and Mia and the evacuation and all that, they're trying to get her out. They don't want Clovis to get their hands on Shannis. And so Pell
And
is
Shannis Pell is her lab was for the Pell Deep Space Probe.
that's what it was, yeah. So she found the darkness, and Clovis Bray's like, "Whoa." Because for another example, I think it was in Revelation. No, it was in the collector's edition. Quan Jean talks about Clovis Bray and how Clovis has to be like kept at arm's length away from the K1 artifact that was found, because Clovis basically found the Vex, and the entire galaxy is like, what's a Vex? Because Clovis kept it all secret.
Yes.
They were like, no, there's no such thing. We're not in a war
So we knew
at all.
Ishtar found a Vex, but we had no idea that there was an
Yeah.
actual Vex.
Yeah, we
war
didn't know that
happening.
there was like this war going on. This completely like hidden secret by Clovis Bray. And so
Wait, wasn't there like it never had a name, but I always named him Bob. But I believe it talked about on Venus about when you're looking into stuff, there is a person who like they dug down deep enough into Venus where they found like Vex started showing up.
yeah, that was the
So it wasn't
Nexus
just the
Mind.
Vex mind. Yeah,
Oh,
so it wasn't just
yeah.
like the single Vex they found, but like they dug down deep enough where they found it and like, oh shoot.
Yeah.
So I always just pictured it like in my mind of like Bob just digging one day and like, there's robots. That's not good.
Yeah, I'd be running. I'd be like, I quit. Nah, there's robots down there, man. We're about to die. Like,
So we do have like Ishtar proof of like them finding the Vex. So I
Yeah.
wonder how much Ishtar and Clovis actually like
well,
played
you're not
together
even
for that part.
you're not even allowed to talk about Ishtar if you work for Clovis. Like that, it's like saying Coca-Cola at a Pepsi company. You'll get fired. That's not a joke.
So I wonder if Clovis Bray's secret war was on Mars or on
Yeah,
Venus.
well, yeah, the Secret War is absolutely on Mars, but Secret Wars. God, that threw me
Damn it,
off.
Clovis Bray.
Where am I now?
I really hope that. So now that like, based on the way the lore books are going, I'm really excited to see if we get more stuff like this because they are starting to. They're not. It feels like they're not afraid to touch on the past anymore. Like before, it feels like they were really afraid to really say anything. There's like, this is kind of happening, and now there's like, this is exactly what is happening.
They've admitted that too. They said like they wanted all the past Guardians that we'd read about, like Jaren Ward and Shin Malfur and Saint 14. All these people should be dead. They should not exist because the story is about us. It's not about them. They might be cool. They might be fun to read about, but they should not be in the game. They should not be a thing that you can see. You know. But that is very clearly something they've.
Universe. Yeah, I was just saying they're just there to flesh out the universe.
Yeah, absolutely. And that ideal seems to have absolutely changed. So I will not say it directly. I will, however, say there is a spoiler for people who want it. All you have to do is go onto the Destiny 2's IMDb page and look at some of the people who have been hired to play certain people. It is a spoiler, probably for the next season.
Oh boy.
Relevant to what we just kind of said. Right, everyone's on the IMDb page now, just trying to figure it out. It's very clear. You'll see it. You'll see who's playing someone, and you know what it kind of implies.
Okay, moving on to the darker tone of the story.
But yeah, so Clovis Bray is just like they're very clearly trying to cover something up again. They think whatever is coming that they can handle, and they don't want people to know about it. They want it to be under their control. That's it. And so Shannis Pell is getting smuggled out on one of these evacuation pods with all these civilians just, in there. And the archaeology people did nothing to give it away. It was all perfect. Nothing could have been picked up by an AI or anything. And then it happens. The evacuation pod that she's on, from Kalki's Burning Sword Part 1, it's the first line. The beam kisses the rising shuttle and cuts through it like a wire through a block of butter, as if the ship and everyone inside were as thin as a hydrocarbon sheet. Thunder booms louder than Earth's through heavy nitromethane air. Mia watches the debris strike at the smooth black ocean and sink. She can't breathe. There is something like a whittled mulberry branch and stuck in her throat. Rasputin killed those people.
Yeah, man. Aurora Lance, right from the sky.
So one thing I do want to talk about, because we did just have Rasputin kill people. So after we get through this, I do want to have like a small discussion about, was it Rasputin or was it Clovis Bray?
Pull in the shots.
Is this why Rasputin? Yeah, and is this why Rasputin has been so cold to everybody since, and is finally starting to come around and had that moment of, I will do what I want on my terms. Because maybe he did not agree with what happened in the Golden Age when he was not sentient.
So they say it was Rasputin. Well, they say it was. Then they understood what the War Mind had done. Like
but that doesn't mean it was like Rasputin himself.
They
like
attribute
after
it
sentience.
to the War Mind.
Sure.
Yeah.
And I think it's in the next one that talks about it, where David Korosek is saying like, okay, so here it is. I want to see the data. There are copies that students came from inside.
Essentially, because I can't remember if you mentioned, but the Pell probe, like information from the probe, was on that ship.
Yeah, they wanted it
why
gone.
It was taken down.
Yeah.
So let me get this straight.
I actually have it if you want me to read it. I found it.
Yeah.
So basically, an entire shuttle of people just got killed because there was information on that shuttle, and it's being attributed to Rasputin. Although they actually say the war minds, like they give it plural war minds.
Mm-hmm.
So that's another thing that I think is interesting. Like, did Clovis Bray kind of cultivate this idea that there are more than one? There's not just Rasputin. There's several. Yes. Like, it's not just our one guy in our back pocket. There are several
And
war
it's something
minds
that they
doing
have
their
gone
own
back
thing.
and forth on, because we have had war minds and then war minds sub minds.
Yeah,
Rasputin
and-
is the main war mind with
But that's what I
sub-minds
mean.
all over the system.
That's what I mean. Did Clovis Bray basically seed that lie where it's like there are multiple war minds? It's not just Rasputin. And then there's people who know it's just Rasputin and subminds, but then the main public believes there's Rasputin, there's Charlemagne, there's Martel, there's Medusa, shit like that.
Or was Rasputin forced to do what he did?
Maybe. But so
then that makes me think, like, if that was a possibility, were those submines pockets for the original war mine to have a way out? Anyway, go ahead.
So in part 2 of Kalki's Burning Sword, I know what this means, David Korosek pronounces. He's gotten down to his knees besides Mia, but he won't reach out, won't touch her without consent. A war mind fired that weapon. War minds don't take human life unless they're in the Twilight Exigent mortal territory. What does that mean? Mia demands, needing some kind of sense. It means, Morgan 2 says mercilessly, that all human beings are assumed dead without protective action. The war minds are now acting to maximize survival, not minimize harm. Death is cheap, the garden's on fire, and it's a race to save whatever we can. And that's insane. Like, they're like, no, I will kill an entire planet if it means like saving this planet. That's the war mind's logic in Twilight Exigent.
Yeah, and that's pretty much the end of. It's not the end of that story, but I suppose like the rest of it is just like talking about how the darkness is manipulating the moon and pulling it, and then it all collapses. And then, do you want to? Because I was just like, to me, it's kind of like that afterthought. Like, it's really cool, but it's not super like crazy.
It's super cool. Like, that's awesome to talk about. But yeah, I mean, I do want to stay on this topic of like what the war minds are able to do. What do you think that means? This is during the collapse, right? This is during pyramids are coming into the system. They're coming to fuck shit up, and the war minds are like, everyone is assumed dead. The pyramids are coming back.
So the one thought I had, which was kind of interesting, is what is the purpose of destroying that probe? Like, yes, there is deep space radar stuff coming in, but what if now that we know about the pyramid on the moon, what if they also took it because the moon was sending a signal out, and that's what Clovis found?
Or maybe that's like what Rasputin found, and he acted on his own.
Yeah,
because there was a lot of cards.
If someone found out, that's going to start a civil war, and everyone's going to kill each other if they know that there is a signal from our moon sending out to the pyramids.
And then it's a mad scramble to hurry up and get everybody uploaded.
I mean, like
stuff is about to go down.
Back in D1, there was a lot of cards like leading up to the main events of the collapse that like showed Rasputin being like acting on his own, not doing what he was supposed to be doing, just doing what he wanted to do. And could that be why? Could he have found things that the actual scientists have not, because he's just got his hands in everything, and he's like come to the actual conclusion that they should have and been like, I need to do something, and he entered Twilight Exigent.
Well, it might also been because I still believe, and this is one of those things where you could argue either way, I'm still on the side that Rasputin is a inherently good sentient being, that he is now a sentient being and he is good. So to me, it's like, what if he found something that, and it's kind of like hard, like when he developed sentience, but if he is a sentient being and it was during the collapse that he acquired sentience, what if
he saw like rampancy?
No, like sentience. Like he, instead of being just a complex AI, he became an actual self-living.
Well, that's what he was always meant to be. He was supposed to be self-thinking.
Right. Yeah, but I mean, like more in like where he then does not have, it's kind of like that thing of like, does his coding have complete control over him, or does he have some control over his coding? Like humans, the main thing about us being sentient is our brains are just organic computers. There is coding constantly going on that dictates everything we do, but because we are sentient and human, we can ignore that coding and we can like focus on changing our coding. We are not 100% dictated by the coding of our brain. So to me, that is sentience. So if Rasputin changed from being dictated by his codes and what Clovis Bray wanted to acting on his own actions and not being controlled by his coding, that would allow him to override fail-safes.
That's why Clovis Bray was so interested in the EXO program, is because he could, by means of technology, could rewrite that moral code or whatnot
in humans.
And then for an AI to become sentient, Bungie's always played with that. I mean, they've used that since Marathon, Halo, all that, and they're still using it today with a lot of the guys over at 343.
And that's kind of like where
it's rampancy and AI morality is very much a construct within the Bungie development world.
Yeah, so it's like if Rasputin is sentient and is inherently good, like what if he decided to do those actions because he found out that Clovis Bray has been shady and has been hiding things and has been causing things, so he stepped up to stop those things? Or if Clovis Bray enacted the actions that Rasputin was doing, like destroying this ship, and didn't like that, and that's when like that final sentience like kind of switch clicked.
Yeah, like
after the collapse, where he's like, okay, no, we're gonna not do that anymore.
Okay, I see what you're saying. At what point was Rasputin a tool, and at what point was Rasputin himself? Like, was this his final point where like this whole moral Twilight exigent is just another lie that Clovis put out there, and Clovis is like, I want that ship destroyed, destroy it. And then Rasputin's like, whoa, what about Twilight exigent? And is like actually breaking from him. So that would be rampancy, wouldn't it? Like, technically?
Well,
rampancy is not only
it could,
like for bad.
Rampancy is triggered by degradation. So like when the parts of the construct of the computer's AI start to degrade over time because of regular material and
is it exclusively from degradation?
No, but that's the thing. You can trigger rampancy by like in the sci-fi world, rampancy can be triggered. So it can be brought on early.
Isn't rampancy, at least from my knowledge, the term rampancy is when an AI is basically wanting to become God versus it just becoming a person. It's when it's getting crazy.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
It's when its architecture is starting to break down from some unknown force or uncontrollable force by the AI. So like, for instance, a computer becomes sentient, and then over time it loses its mind because of degradation, because it cannot keep itself regulated because of regular wear factors or whatnot. And so
that wouldn't be the same in this situation. This wouldn't be rampancy. This would just be Rasputin getting its own moral code.
It would be him breaking, because it would be like trying to give I don't know if you've ever seen the old War Games movie, when they give him a chess game to play and he can't play the chess game against himself and win, because he keeps playing over and over and over until finally, after a million inconclusive results, he decides, hell, you can't win. And so he breaks, and then he decides, oh, okay, well, I guess everybody's okay. I won't kill y'all.
So that's not really what's happening with Rasputin. Like, there's a difference between rampancy and like gaining sentience, I guess.
Well, like, per Bungie's terms of rampancy, like in Marathon, rampancy is the enhanced self-awareness of an AI causing progression towards greater mental abilities. So like, it would be that point where Rasputin's like, I'm no longer your tool, which he has said to us in Warmind. Like, he made that clear. He's like, I'm not your tool. I'm not something to be used. I'm me. And like, that is like, by the Bungie definition, rampancy.
And that's why I bring that up. It's like, when did that happen?
Because I think this might be it.
Yeah, because that's not being dictated by your own coding. That's Rasputin saying, okay, no, I'm not cool with what you guys are doing, and I'm going to control myself now.
Yeah.
Which is, to me, is that click into sentience versus non-sentience.
Because
he now has control over his own coding.
It all depends on how quickly everything happened. You know, the Traveler left Io, went back to Earth. Titan, the ship got destroyed with Shannis Pell's information on it. And then, like, how long after that did the events in the Cosmodrome happen where Rasputin was, like, preparing nuclear warheads without anyone telling him to do so? How long was
anyone actually telling him to do so?
Well, that's what they said. They were like, why is Rasputin doing this? And it's like, he's doing this, like, because we had the information tabs where it's like human check unneeded, like stuff like that, where the things that Rasputin should have someone saying, do this, do this, do this, he was doing on his own.
So are you thinking that the straw that broke Rasputin's camelback was the forced morality coding, or the thing that went against his forced morality coding that maybe Clovis?
Like Guardian said, I think this might have been, if not the one that broke it, one of the ones that broke it, where it was like he's being fed, you have this morality code, and then Clovis is using him as a weapon going against his morality code, and he's like, whoa, like, wait,
and that broke him.
Think about Twilight Exigent and Clovis Bray. I feel like Twilight Exigent makes perfect sense aligned with Clovis Bray. So to me, it would make sense if it wasn't Rasputin as we know him now, who was doing all of that, but it was Clovis Bray using him. Because that makes sense with Clovis. Clovis' whole thing is about saving, like, basically sacrificing the many to save the few.
Yeah.
And which is not what Rasputin or Golden Age morality is about at all. It's about saving and protecting everything. Where Clovis Bray is like, no, we want to save this. Like, we want to survive. We're going to survive at all costs. So Twilight Exigent is that coming to play. It's, we're going to do everything we can to destroy everything we can to make sure that we survive. Like, we will do everything to survive and keep what we have.
And what you said before, like, why was the information that Shannis Pell had, if she just had information, why is that bad? Like, why is that a detriment to humanity's survival? If she just knew about the pyramids, if she knew about the darkness, should that not be helping them? It sounds like, it really sounds like what they were afraid of was information getting out, letting people know what's about to happen before Clovis
Bray's like whole thing.
Yeah,
which makes me think that it wasn't Rasputin, it was Clovis Bray.
That's a really good point.
Because Clovis Bray wants to survive, and they want to be great, so they don't want people saying, "Oh, there's a great darkness coming." They just want to see, "Oh, we all like evacuated and everything's fine." And Clovis Bray did amazing things and helped us.
Yeah, because what they want to happen is Clovis Bray defeats the darkness before it even gets there, and then they're like, "Look what we did. You're welcome. You need us." Like that type of shit. But obviously it didn't work. They could have maybe we would have survived the collapse if they didn't play these games.
I don't think so. Just because like Black Armory kind of power against it.
The K1 team found the artifact. If like Quan Zhang wanted to do, projected that to the Traveler, maybe something could have been done. Maybe preparations could have actually been made.
Okay. Question. Spinfoil. What if Clovis Bray caused the collapse?
Intentionally?
What if when they took over unintentionally? What if when they took over the A1 thing and they put a box around it and it could no longer what is it? It could no longer send out signals. What if that was the trigger that like the pyramids went, "Hey, we're not getting a signal anymore. That's not good. We should go." Like, what if that was it? And that's what they were trying to hide. Like, what if Clovis Bray, by stopping the signals, because they were all, the crew who was there were freaking out. Like, no, we can't stop it from, like, sending signals out. So what if when Clovis Bray trapped the signals and stopped it, that's what, like, when they stopped it? Because when military, if you're getting a signal, everything's fine.
Yeah.
Once you stop getting a signal, that's when you freak out. So that's when, like, what if that's what caused the pyramids to arrive? And that's what Clovis, like, thought. And that's why they wanted the probe dead. It's like, oh, no, we might have caused this. We should probably not let anyone know that.
Damn.
Strange.
Man, I don't know. That sounds possible.
It sounds realistic. Like, it sounds like, especially with getting this plus, like, all the other lore, I feel like it all would, like, fit if Clovis Blade literally was, like, unintentionally caused the collapse.
As soon as that happens, Bungie will rewrite it.
I like this face that Anand's making. It's just I blew his mind. I think.
Yeah, I'm
This
really
is like a
thinking
once in a
about it.
lifetime thing.
I really got to think about it because that seems possible. Because like I would agree that Clovis Bray's like need to control everything. That's what I was just saying. His like need to cover everything up and control everything probably hindered humanity's chance at survival. I mean, obviously destiny is going to come to the point where we experience a second collapse, and maybe we don't win, but we're not going to lose. You know, we're not just like, and we lost. It's the end of destiny.
Right.
Congratulations for playing. You know, like that's not going to happen. So what, other than Guardians, what's different? You know, and the difference is Clovis Bray's not freaking hiding the truth about the Vex. Now the Speaker isn't doing the same, because that's all the Speaker was doing too. Look at how much we lost because the Speaker kept stuff secret. History has been repeating itself in Destiny, where hiding the truth from the mass public because you think, oh, they don't need this information. It's too this, it's too that, only hurts them.
Right.
We also have, which is really interesting because there's a lot of like common threads happening with these lore books. We also have the mention that the Death Singers were building based off of a code created by the Traveler.
I mean,
like
do we really
they were
wanna
like studying the
branch
music
out
of
on
the
that?
spheres essentially. But like, so think about like that. So they were studying the music of the spheres essentially,
Yeah.
is what I'm going to call it. And that's how like they figured out how to control life with that.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what A1 was studying. They were studying the waves and the music of the spheres. They just didn't fully understand it. So if we had more time to study that, and if we get back more into that, like what if we like can use the music of the spheres essentially to change reality and to like survive the collapse? Like what if that's the difference? Is we see if we find the artifact on the moon, and instead of shoving it away like the Speaker would have, we go, no, we need to look at this and like figure out what's going on and be basically the light version of the Death Singers, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Like we learn to manipulate the music of the spheres in a different way.
Yeah.
Because that's the only other thing that's changed, is we have that artifact now. Plus, we don't have as many shady people doing shady things.
The shady people are getting killed. So yeah, that was the big reveals in this lore book. As Guardian said before, the rest of it was, I think it's really cool. The rest of it isn't very Golden Age important. Basically, the collapse is happening, and because of the collapse happening, because of the pyramids, maybe one thing. So the newest lore book just was found, unveiling. After the raid was beat, you can go see Eris, and she'll give you the first entry. And the cover of the book has a big outline triangle with a triangle inside it, and a big outline circle with a circle inside it, Pyramid Traveler. And between the two actual shapes, but not between their outlines, are the 9 planets: Mercury, Venus, Earth, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, Neptune, Uranus, Pluto. And in the middle point, the point where the circle and the outline circle and the outline triangle meet, is Mars, which is where the light extended to, or so it was said. Like that's, the reef where the Exodus green met the darkness, and that's where it all collided. So it really feels like this book is going to talk about the collapse, and like directly talk about the collapse. And so basically what we were seeing is syzygy, where all the planets, just like all the way back on Fundament, all the moons lined up. And Fundament being a gas giant of like water planet, basically. It's like liquid methane, just like Titan. The syzygy ended up pulling the planet to such a point that when the syzygy ended, the oceans of the Fundament, just like on Titan, created a god wave that destroyed everyone. And so I think what happened in the collapse is the planets actually aligned. And what happened on Titan is, as it was said in the book, it kind of pulled it into a teardrop shape. And then the syzygy ends, and the teardrop collapses, and a huge wave kills everyone.
The God wave.
Yeah, the God wave. The God wave ends everyone. And the It's crazy how it ends, because it ends with the guy Maury. He's a diver who had some of the life on Titan captured at the bottom of the ocean on the little ice, and he didn't want them to die, so he went down to let them go so they could get away. And as he's coming back, he breaks the surface. He starts to fly. Maury opens his suit wings to the full membranous span, a single mighty stroke of paramuscle cups at the air, and hauls him up to the sea. He's aloft. Titan air is thick, and Titan gravity is light, and like a huge bat, he can fly. He puts his head down and starts building altitude, headed towards the beckoning Exo. The Exo's laser blinks code at him. Go with God, you poor. Maury looks back. First he sees the supercarrier, tragically buoyant, tragically light, built for the seas with gentle 1-meter tides, and now riding the greatest wave Titan has ever seen, directly into Dome 2's crippled understructure, and 152 kilopascals of air pressure. The pandemonium sound of the collision has the gut-mulching power of a rocket booster. The entire arcology collapses down onto the ship and into the sea. See, so there are multiple arcologies. Proof.
No, it said
This
dome.
reminds
Didn't it
me-
say dome 2?
It said Dome 2, but it said the entire arcology collapses down onto the ship into the sea. Destroyed. This whole event,
Okay.
this whole structure was destroyed. The structure we go on can't be the same one.
So we are on an arcology, and like the different places that were attached to
Has
it are
to
the
be.
different rigs.
Yeah.
So that's where like it's one arcology with all the rigs connected to it, and then there's another arcology with all its own like rigs.
So I guess the one that we're on, so if it became a teardrop shape, the bottom of the teardrop is probably the safest point, because the wave's going to fall down and then make its way around the planet. So our arcology and our rigs were probably somewhere on the bottom half that are the least affected.
Yeah,
Right.
or it could be the same arcology that they're in, and just Dome 1 and not Dome 2, because they don't mention Dome 1 getting destroyed.
Yeah, okay, yeah, that's
Just
true.
Dome 2.
It could be the same one, and just somehow Dome 1 survived.
Yeah, because I don't know. I feel like, at least for me, if I was going to write lore about something, it would be about a place we've been. It wouldn't be about like if we've been to one arcology, I would write it about that arcology.
He makes it to the surface. He's up there in plenty of time. He can't even see Dome 1's. He can even see Dome 1 still intact, though a lot of the surrounding rigging is damaged. One of the creepy exo soldiers stands outside, beckoning to him with a laser dazzle guiding him in. So yeah, it sounds like Dome 1 survived.
Yeah, and that's like the one we go to. The rigs are
Yeah.
pretty damaged and beat up, so we might be on the same arcology that they are.
That sounds accurate. All right.
I like it.
Well, that is the end of the book, and I think that is the end of the show as well. All right, everyone good? Anything closing statements to say?
I just want to say, I feel like that book, when you look at it as just like from standing back, it really does not have a lot going on with it. It's just like a really interesting story. But as soon as you start actually like diving into it, like
Yeah, look
I feel
where
like
we got with
learned
it.
a lot. Yeah, like we just got a ton that I was not even expecting to think about with this.
Yeah.
That came from like just something about the Golden Age, and I think that's like really cool to see. Like even when they're doing just random stories from the past, like if they are purposefully giving us those bits, like they are still very talented at interweaving a story between
Yeah.
their lore books, even though it's different authors doing all these books.
Yeah.
Like it's so crazy to see this whole story being intertwined between different authors and different books, and just from like a simple Golden Age story, like we learned that Clovis might have caused this.
Well, this one was the one about the Kraken Mare. Kraken Mare? Mara? Like
Kraken
Mara
Mare.
Imbrium? Kraken
No,
Mara?
Kraken Mare.
Oh, gosh dang it.
Our next episode will be on October 20th. I'm hoping Baxter will be back and that we can talk about Aspect. To get Aspect, if you want to get Aspect, kill Vex. You'll get it. It'll drop very soon. It's a very quick one. Because I really want to get into Aspect. I have some thoughts about Aspect.
Oh boy.
And
It was written by someone who does not actually work for Bungie.
Really?
She's a freelance writer.
Oh, is that the one
follow on Twitter
that
now.
Brino just linked?
Yeah, he sent a picture of it. It's
Yes.
Ariel, I think.
Yeah,
It's a freelance writer that does other stuff that got brought on to do this book.
it's a really good book.
Which, yeah. I'm not saying like don't read it because of that.
Yeah.
Like I'm just saying like it makes it even better because
Yeah.
it's a freelance writer who
yeah.
wrote this book and it's so good and feels like it's so true to Destiny
Yeah.
and
It
the old
touches on
stories.
some really interesting things. So hopefully next episode, October 20th, will be about Aspect. Maybe something will come up and we'll have to talk about that. But my hope is for Aspect on the 20th. If you came in late, you can find us on Twitter at Loose Canon Show. On our Twitter, you can find our podcast link, our YouTube link, our Twitch link. You can just watch the VOD. Everything that was shown and discussed here will be on those places later in the week. Monday, Tuesday, around there. And yeah, that was our show this week. Hope you enjoyed it. Thanks for watching. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.